What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time after 4 long years, we return with Andrew of the Almighty I Am. Great to be able to talk with you today, man.
Howdy. What's going on, man?
I can't believe it's been 4 years since we last spoke with each other back on that Ingested tour at the Kingsland.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I think about that a lot, honestly, with how long it's taken to get like this new album out. It's like 4 years has gone by. You know, that's crazy.
I know, like you were delaying albums before it was cool. I'm just kidding.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Not my fucking choice either.
Yeah, but that show I interviewed, my favorite line I've ever heard at a show was said at that particular show that I interviewed you at, where I went out for a cigarette and the security guard walked out all panicky, saying, "Dude, the wall is missing."
That's so insane. That sounds like the Kingsland, like to a T.
Yep.
Those shows there used to be off the walls, you know?
Yeah.
Everybody was scared to
go. More
go.
ways than one.
Literally.
Yeah. But, dude, it's so great to be able to talk with you again. Last time I spoke to you, we were promoting Hard to Kill, but now we're getting their awesome follow-up, Eternal Steel. Did you just consider this just a continuation of what we heard on Hard to Kill, or was this like a completely new beginning for I Am in a way?
So I really think it was a continuation, but it's really us coming to our own. So Hard to Kill was like our first album where we kind of wrote everything we really wanted, you know, because Life Through Torment, the one before that, Tommy, the guitarist, came into it writing how our old guitarist was writing. And like, we just needed to finish the album basically with one. Like, they're like, all right, we already have like half of it laid out, like just come in and finish it. And so he did that. But in Hard to Kill, we didn't have that other guy. And it was just Tommy and Chris. So they're like, listen, do whatever the fuck you want. Like, make this I Am. Make this Hard to Kill. Make this what you want. And so, you know, we did that. And with Eternal Steel, we just had so much time, obviously 4 years, to get better as musicians, to get better as, you know, people, as far as like how we interact in the band. Like, it just, everything fell so perfectly. So I feel like Hard to Kill is like, Eternal Steel is Hard to Kill's big brother. It's exactly what we feel like we needed to do. It's just so much, there's just so much more to it. You know, I mean, I can say this all I want because I'm here. I can't speak for everybody else, but like the technicality side of it is just way more for us, at least. And I feel like it shows in the performance, you know. I feel like it shows that, hey, this band is like ascended as far as like how they're playing, like the things that they are playing. And I don't know, it feels so right. It feels so goddamn good. It feels like what I Am needed to be. And it just, I don't know.
It goes without saying, my personal opinion, I had the privilege of hearing this album, and it is by far the best I Am album. I can't wait for the rest of the world to hear it. But for people who haven't heard it yet, do you feel that the first 2 singles that you released are maybe a good representation of what Eternal Steel is going to sound like, or is that just scratching the surface of what we're going to hear?
Oh, literally just barely scratching the surface. I mean, you listen to it, so I don't know if you caught, but like, there's so many different elements to this album. It's not like, so the first half of the album kind of has its own feel and groove, and then the second half of the album, it like switches paces. It switches into like a whole new reality, a whole different world as far as like listening. And it like, there's so many things to experience on this album for new and old listeners. Like, it hits all the points. And it's fast, it's slow, it has everything. You know, it's not just one song and we're gonna repeat that same fucking song the entire album because they're like, oh, this song's good, let's just do it again the whole time. Like, you know, we really like, I don't even want to say the word experimented because it didn't feel like that. It just, everything felt so natural, and it's none of us actually are like, hey, let's make sure this song sounds different than this one. They just kind of all do that. It just kind of happens that way. We don't, you know, I don't want like talking, but like on like albums or whatever, but there's some albums you listen to where it's like they do the same thing every track.
Yeah.
You know, they do the same thing every song, and throughout the whole album, you're like, okay, that's sick. Like, it sounds like that band. but like, you know, you're not getting much variety out of it.
Absolutely.
You know, I feel like there's so much to explore on Eternal Steel that like you can listen to it quite a few times before actually like getting all of it.
Well, when I first heard Hard to Kill, it was, I think of 2018, that was the most brutal album of 2018 in terms of its heaviness. I think nothing hit as hard to Kill by I Am that year. And you know, I loved it for its consistency, but this album far exceeded my expectations. It still has the brutality, but it shows evolution in a way. And that kind of led me into the next question, actually, because being that it has been 4 years since the last I Am album, is what we're hearing on Eternal Steel maybe how these songs were originally created and originally structured, or did these songs kind of like change a lot over a span of time?
I don't think they didn't change very much over the span of time. So basically how we work is Tommy has a whole bag of songs and ideas and all this stuff that he does because he writes constantly. And so he'd been writing over the course of a long time, and he brings it to us, and then Chris will bring his riffs in, and we'll kind of collaborate. But once we like get the song structure and we start laying out songs, you know, we really take our time with it. So not much changes besides like, you know, Randy, our producer, like he'll give great changes or something. He's like, hey, you know, let's try doing something like this. So like we have like a very, it's hard to say, we're very set on like what we want to like sound like or like be, you know, because we want to be I Am, you know, we don't want to be like any other band, you know, we want to specifically sound like I Am, and we just want to make sure that comes clear across whenever you're listening to it.
Yeah,
you know, so that really goes into like the song structure and how we view writing songs.
Yeah, and I think with the band name I Am, I can only imagine how many times interviewers ask you, what is the meaning of the band name I Am? But it really does have like, it has mystery behind it. Like I feel like that there is something that dives deep into it, and I think it really does represent that you are who you are. And you know, even if you go off and experiment, it is still being you because it's a product of evolution. You know, as an artist evolves, the music is going to evolve. But in terms of your lyrics, when you look at the lyrics of Hard to Kill or earlier material, do you feel like maybe the meaning or messaging of a song could also evolve over time, or do you want every song to just be a representation of who you are at that particular time, like a snapshot?
No, I feel like over time things change. Obviously, people change, and your views change. You know, and you as a person changed. So a lot of Hard to Kill was me trying to be that empowerment. Like I want to be empowered by myself. Like I want to be there, but I didn't realize like how much you have to look into yourself to do that. Like it's a lot of fucking work to figure out who you are as a person. Like it's a lot. And I feel like Eternal Steel is realizing that, and each song is kind of discussing how I'm going through that and like the trials and tribulations that it takes to get there. And I represent them in like, you know, barbaric tales. Like that's how I like to like have the visuals of it. But like the meaning behind them is still me, you know, coming to grips with how I can be a more powerful person to myself, you know, within, you know. So yeah, things change, you know. I thought I had all my shit together when we were writing Hard to Kill. You know, as a person, like I thought I was untouchable. I thought I was unstoppable. And then real life hits you, and then you start to realize, oh shit, I'm not as great as I thought I was, or I'm like as my inner self. So like things change, man. And like this is kind of me realizing that and realizing all the shit you have to go through to really come into yourself, because it's a lot of uncomfortable spaces. You know, it's not good feelings a lot of the times. You know, it's not. You know, sunshines and rainbows to figure out who you are.
Definitely. No, it's not supposed to be easy figuring out who you are. But,
exactly.
But it's kind of interesting. So I've had this question that I've always wanted to ask, but you're the first artist I'm going to ask it to, actually, because confronting your demons within your lyrics, obviously music is very cathartic and a way of, you know, overcoming certain aspects. But when it comes to confronting who you are and, you know, either having to revisit those demons or that past, does that almost make the songwriting process also very deteriorating too?
Oh yeah, it is difficult for me. It's very difficult because like I don't speak well right off like the dome. I'm very good at writing. That's obviously why I like writing lyrics. You know, I like getting to get in that headspace because it is a headspace type of thing. You know, because I'm revisiting all these things. I'm recognizing these demons and I'm writing them on paper. You know, and I feel like it makes it easier for me to do it in those like kind of tall tales of like barbaric things, you know, or at least for Eternal Steel is what I use as my visual for it, you know. So like I feel like that kind of really helped cope with not completely falling apart while writing, you know. Like it kind of helps put that fantasy in there to where I'm like, okay, I'm getting my point across, but I'm doing it so in a way that's not gonna destroy me.
Mm-hmm.
Like writing. I realize I'm kind of an emotional person, you know, as of late, and it's not something that's really easy to deal with a lot of time, especially when you're a certain way for so long, you know. So realizing that you do have emotions or you do have these types of feelings, you know, it's kind of rough to put it on paper. So what's the word? Um, so vulnerable. Yeah, sorry. So vulnerable. You know, it's so I like to do it through like kind of barbaric tales, you know, and you know, it obviously fits, you know, with imagery in the album too. So it kind of helps with that. But yeah, it's kind of a hard process.
Yeah, and I remember seeing you perform too at the Kingsland, and I also saw you play at Vitus, which was a great show too. And
Oh
like,
yeah.
and you know, I could tell you're putting pedal to the metal. There's no mercy in your show. But what's fascinating, and not just even for your style, you know, interviewing, you know, bands like Twitching Tongues or Nails or all this, you know, even though it's aggressive all the time in the pits and all that, there is so much emotion that's brought in there. Do you think that maybe if a person were to read your lyrics as opposed to listening to the lyrics on the album, and you just read the lyrics on paper, that brings a new level or maybe a different type of context to it?
Oh, 100%. Because like uh, I would say I write my lyrics more in a poetry style. I don't write like a book or like it's like full sentences, like you're describing everything that's going on. Like I write it more so like poetry, you know, and you know, like as poetry is something you can take a million different ways. You know, it's something you can read one way, or one person can read it and get something totally different than the other person. You know, so I think it really gives that element of like, oh wow, this band is, you know, super emotional or deep, and then the next person can read it like, oh, they're just fucking raw barbaric motherfuckers and just write about, you know, awful things happening. You know, I feel like for sure it could be taken completely different ways.
Mm-hmm. And I think another thing that could be taken completely different ways is just the overall performance. Because while I've seen you play at St. Vitus and Kingsland, you know, very small, intimate, hardcore venues, you've also played a variety of different styles of venues with different bands. Like when you played with, you know, Killswitch Engage, like, you know, that's a larger venue, and, you know, like there's a barricade and all that stuff. So when you play at like a larger venue, I don't want to say hinder, but like, would you say that that's a completely different I am experience than if they were to see you at a place like Kingsland or something like that?
I mean, I would say just based off of the environment right off the bat, it's going to be different. Like a barricade show versus a floor show or like a stage that's like 2 feet tall. Like it's going to be different, you know, just right off the bat. But as far as us performing, we are very, very good at giving the same exact fucking performance that we would give at a nasty ass fucking floor show, house show, same as we would with a barricade show. You know, like, because we only really started doing barricade shows the last, like, I don't know, 2, 3 years. And, you know, really the biggest one was like that Europe tour we did with Irish Murder. And that was like, I mean, every single show was barricades, you know, and it was like 1,000+ people a night. And so that was kind of weird getting used to, but I feel like it threw us in there like, hey, you're going to be playing these big ass shows with barricades. But we didn't know any different. We're like, all right, we'll just play the same way we did at the Kingsland, you know, like you know, we're going to play the same way we did at these small shows. And I feel like it's just kind of ingrained in us now. Like we go hard every time, and we don't feel like it's any different, we still put on a badass show no matter what type of venue it is.
Yeah.
We're very consistent in that we want to be exciting live. We want to be entertaining. We want to show the world who I Am is. And you're going to fucking, like I said, I tell us all the time, you don't care if you like our music, if you don't care for us as a band. If you sit there and watch us for that 30 minutes, you're going to be like, damn, that was cool. Like, they put on a sick show. I don't like their music that much, but they're fucking sick.
Absolutely.
I love that because that just shows our consistency, and I want to keep that for as long as we're a fucking band.
Do you feel that for the type of show that you play, you have to rehearse crowd interaction and stage presence as much as you have to rehearse the song itself? Like, is it almost kind of in a way like a choreography?
No, not really. I mean, honestly, I've practiced. We have never, because I know a lot of bands do like show practices where they set it up like a show and they literally do a 30-minute set to a T, like with the banter and everything. Like they do it like it would be a show. But we have never done that. Not once have we ever done that. We literally, we almost line up in a circle and we just fucking jam and play the songs. And like we obviously go through transitions because you have to do that. As far as like show banter and shit like that, and like the exciting part of being a live band, like we don't do that. We don't like sit there in our practice space and go all out like we're playing a live show. It just, when we're up there, it just comes out, and I think that's what's so fresh and revitalizing about it, because it's like, whoa, like it just feels so real. We're not putting on a show. We're not choreographing moves. Like we're not doing that type of shit.
Yeah.
We go up there and we fucking play our music, and we express ourselves on stage how we want to express ourselves.
I think that's a Texas metal scene thing nowadays, because I think we touched upon this before, but there's been a lot of bands since I spoke to you in the last 4 years that came out of Texas that have been killing it lately, whether it would be Creeping Death, Frozen Soul, and then of course Power Trip, rest in peace to Riley, and so many fantastic bands that have been coming out. Is that almost just kind of like the Texas mentality now at this point? It almost seems like Texas is becoming like the new New York in a way for like these new age hardcore or underground death metal bands.
Oh yeah, man. It's like an unspoken thing. Nobody speaks about, hey, we got to do this to sound Texas, or we got to do this to sound like we're from Texas. Nobody does that. No band from here does that. Everybody, there's just something with growing up with bands like that, and from Texas, Pantera, Mammoth Grinder, Power Trip, Iron Age, shit like that. It's all these bands that we grew up with, and I think we're just taking an influence from them without actually being like, hey, we need to sound like a Texas band. It's just ingrained in us. I don't really know how else to say it. Maybe someone can explain it better, but I'm puzzled by it a lot too. But I think it's sick. I love it. There's no band from Texas sounds the same.
Yeah, no, you're right.
All sound like Texas.
No, I think you said it perfectly, because when you look at New York, we're known for hardcore. You think of Tampa, you think of death metal, you think of Seattle, think of grudge, so on and so forth. Massachusetts, metalcore. Mm-hmm. I think of heavy metal when I hear Texas, with 100% heavy metal. But no, not death metal, not hardcore, not metalcore, not new metal, not like, it's just everything. It's literally, I think like the center of the country where Texas is almost kind of like the center of all those subgenres. You have Shattered Sun for metalcore, you have Drowning Pool for new metal.
Yeah, that's you got Blue October in Houston. Like, you just got weird shit everywhere. But like, I don't know. It's just, there's something about it. And like, I don't know. I think about it sometimes. I'm like, man, like, was this a catalyst of like Pantera or something? Because I've been doing like a deep dive recently again into Pantera, and their discography is so different. Like every album, they do so many different things and so many elements that like you can't say they're anything besides heavy metal.
Yeah,
because there's so many different things. They do thrash, they do death metal, they do the new wave heavy. Like it's just crazy to me, and I think a lot of that bleeds into every band from Texas, without even having to think about it. It's just like, I don't know.
It's in your blood.
Something about it, man.
It's in your blood.
Really something about it.
It's in your blood.
But there's no denying it either.
No.
Because you get everybody asking the same question too. They're like, what's up with Texas? You don't hear that about fucking Illinois or something. Like, You know, like,
yeah, I mean,
there's just something about Texas bands.
yeah, to a degree. I mean, I was so surprised. I love interviewing bands from all over the world, and I'm always surprised when I hear about metal scenes. I interviewed a band from Gaborone, Botswana one time, and they were telling me that their metal scene is huge there. And I'm
Crazy.
so you never know where you're gonna find metal. There, newsflash, there are other places where heavy metal is from other than Sweden.
Right?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
The Norwegian black metal. That's
Yep.
all. That's all everybody does.
And circling back to your creative process, because I feel like I am is very community driven. Whether it would be your fans, whether it is the band members, it's just a community. What I feel. But in terms of like your creative process, whether it be writing the lyrics or thinking of musical ideas, you know, they always say isolation and solitude is a great fuel for creativity. Do you prefer to be in the company of your bandmates when coming up with new ideas, or do you prefer to kind of be alone to cultivate ideas?
Yeah, we're all kind of loners in that aspect. You know, we do come up with our own creative ideas separately and alone. Like, I'm very weird when it comes to writing lyrics. I like to do the whole, put on a vibe, dim the lights down. Like, I like to be in a space where I feel like I can be creative, and alone is where I can do that. And same with Tom. Tom, he does a lot of his shit alone in his room at his computer. Same with Chris. We're all kind of loners already. I don't know. We're not big on social media. We don't like post all the time. We're not like there in everybody's faces. We're kind of in the shadows, creeping around, like doing our thing. So that's I feel like that's always, it reflects in there too. Because it's like, I don't know, you just get so many different influences, especially when you're alone, because you're not influenced by another person, by what they're wanting or what they're saying. Hey, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do this. And obviously that all comes into play once we're putting songs together and actually forming everything. But as far as creating the ideas, we're all loners. We all like to do it on our own time, in our own solitude.
Yeah, and I'd imagine too that inspiration strikes at very inconvenient times as well. And do you, yeah, and do you find it like the longer you're working on something, that like maybe the harder it is to sort of like maintain that creative idea or that creative energy? Like, do you almost feel like you have to, when you get an idea, the sooner the better?
Oh yeah, 100%. There'll be times when I'm working on a job site and something happens, like something hits, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm feeling so creative. Like this is happening, this is hitting. And so I'll literally have to get off the fucking 2-story ladder, go down there and go to my notes and just sit there and, all right. And I have to take a few minutes of my time just to because I am feeling really creative. So sometimes it hits at the worst moment. Most of the time it hits at the worst moments. I'll say that. When you sit there and you're trying to force creativity out, and it's just like, sometimes it draws blanks and you're just sitting there with a pen doing nothing.
Yeah.
It's very random sometimes. Sometimes you're like, okay, today I'm writing, and it hits and you're just writing page after page after page.
Yeah.
But you can write 3 or 4 pages and there's only half a page worth of good shit that you want to use.
Definitely. But with inspiration striking at the most inconvenient times. That's why I've always said that pilots, never be a musician if you're going to be a pilot for a living. Like, everybody was so excited about Bruce Dickinson when he was flying that plane and everything. I'm like, I hope he doesn't think of any ideas as he's approaching the tarmac or something like that, and is like recording into his phone as the plane is just going down in flames.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, man, musicians are fucked up people. So if you're flying a plane, odds are he's probably going to take out a notepad and start writing while he's trying to land a plane,
Yeah, and then maybe call up the passengers, being like, "Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. If you could I could get your opinion on this new riff that I wrote while flying on the plane."
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, our guitarist Tom, all the time, we'll be sitting there and he'll just pull out his phone and be like he'll just word out a riff that he's thinking of and put it in his phone, So it happens.
I'm terrified one day that a death metal band is going to think of the greatest lyrics but most violent lyrics on a plane, and Homeland Security gets pays a visit or something like that.
Sir, what were you thinking during this moment?
Yeah. Oh, that I think we need to give the Hard Times a call. That's a Hard Times article if I've
Yeah,
ever
right?
seen it. Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one. They go all day on that one.
Yep. And the final question I wanted to ask you is circling back to your live performance in a way. Because you mentioned now like that this new album, Eternal Steel, it's like a new era of I Am. It's, you know, kind of the big brother of Hard to Kill. But, you know, you're going to have to put a set list together where you're going to have to, you know, bring songs from all three of your albums into it. Do you think that when you play different songs from different albums together, that maybe also like brings a new layer of meaning to it, or almost brings like a new type of life to it in a way?
Yeah, because I mean, you're reinvigorating some old songs that maybe didn't get the exposure it did, obviously, when you were a band 4 or 5 years ago. So like bringing that into the mix with a new album that somebody is just hearing, and like that's like your biggest moment. It's like, okay, these songs are kind of getting a new lease on life because people are hearing them that maybe have not heard of, you know. So, but I will say, like, writing in old songs into a new set list is so hard because as a band, we're just wanting to play new songs. Like, we're just like, fuck, we're so ready to play all these new songs, but we have to remember, like, okay, we still have these other 2 albums that we have to get, but our like selfish little parts of us are just like, nah, fuck it, we're just gonna play everything Eternal Steel. Yeah. You know, so it is hard trying to figure out which songs we want to bring into the mix with new songs, but it is important, you know, especially because like I said, you bring new life to songs that didn't get the attention they did back then.
Yeah, but I also and when you also play those songs, do you like almost put a similar energy into the live performance as you do when you're recording them as well?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I can't speak for like, you know, everybody who records, as far as like Tommy and Chris and everybody, but whenever I'm doing recording vocals, I'm really like, I'm gearing up like it's a live show, you know, like I'm running around, jumping around, like doing shit to like amp myself up, like, you know, watching a bunch of live videos from my favorite bands. Like, I'm just sitting there, I'm gearing up like it is a live show because I do want that to come off in the album. You know, the thing I fear is like I don't want it to seem like it's a studio recorded version of me. I want it to feel like it's a live recording of me at a live show.
Well, that led me. You actually bring up a good point because when I listen to all three of your albums, I feel like I want to crowd kill. I want to, you know, do all the shit that I do at your shows. You capture that live energy, but in a studio, you know, it's a very static environment. You know, you can't exactly, you know, throw karate kicks in a room full of expensive gear and shit like that. So like, how do you sort of capture that? Like, you know, you're in a vocal booth, you kind of have to stay still the whole time. You can't really, you know, move in the recording booth like you do on stage.
Well, so the way we recorded Eternal Steel specifically, so it's Randy LaBeouf at Graphic Nature, which shout out to him. He's the fucking best, him and EQ. But it's an open room. I'm recording right next to his studio table. So like I'm not in a little closet like a lot of bands have to do. I'm right here. He's 2 feet from me. And honestly, it's so nice because I have a stand, the mic with the little pop filter on it. So I have all this room to move. So before I'm gearing up to do vocals, I'm running around like doing shit, jumping up and down, you know, do some push-ups or something. Like I'm getting my blood flowing. I'm trying to get as close to the live experience as I can in the secluded room. And the vibes are always so sick with Randy. So like it's not like you said, like a static, like, oh, like I'm closed in this little thing. It's a vibe, you know, we're chilling, we're hanging out. You know, he's super great at recording. I mean, I love recording vocals with Randy because he taught me a lot. You know, he makes me try things that I wouldn't think to try. And that's exciting for me, you know, when I'm recording. So like it's everything about it's exciting while I'm recording. And I feel like it portrays in the album. Definitely. You know, so I'm not one of those guys that likes to, like I said, have a studio voice, or if you will, you know, I want it to sound the exact fucking same as I do live.
I almost feel like for a lot of vocalists of all styles, even outside of metal, there is almost kind of like a, not the best example, but almost kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde sort of like there's studio version and stage version
Yep.
of you. So, but
Yeah.
when I hear I Am, whether it be in the album or on stage, it's I Am, and that's what I think is great. It is a what you see is what you get band.
I love that. I love that you can see that too from an outside perspective, because like we all feel this because we're in the band, and like that's the kind of thing that we want to come across, but you never know if like somebody from the outside is really thinking that.
Oh,
You know, it's like yeah, that is awesome.
If the one word I use to describe I Am is real. That's what I say.
Love that. Yep. I love that.
So
I love that. That's so sick.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today, and great to catch up with you. And again, congrats on being the band responsible for my favorite line ever said at a concert. The wall is missing. I still don't know what they were talking about. The wall doesn't just go missing. Like what the, like,
you never know during I Am.
Yeah.
You never know.
I think you should print that on a T-shirt. The wall is missing. Like
the wall is missing. All right. Yeah. Well, I'll do it just for you.
Oh, dude, it would be an honor. Is there just anything else with I Am that you would like to promote in terms of tours, or anything else you would like to plug for the release of Eternal Steel? This will be uploaded. This will be uploaded by midnight. So if you have a tour scheduled for the summer of 2024, don't say it here. You know.
Yeah, no. I mean, midnight is sick because I mean we have a few shows that we're doing up into this the Canada Fest, Sculpt Exposure Fest in Canada with Scowl and a bunch of badass bands. The second day has like Strife and really cool shit. But we're doing a show in Colorado on this upcoming Monday, and Salt Lake City is upcoming Tuesday. So you know those are two kind of shows we're doing up on the way there. So you know if you're in that area, come out to that. We got Australia coming up, which is fucking killer. I cannot fucking wait to do that.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Yeah, like it's just like that's crazy shit for me. I can't believe we're doing some shit like that.
Hell yeah.
But as far as that goes, we're planning a headliner right now for fall, which some killer bands. So you know, look out for that whenever that gets there. And you know, 2023 is a whole open world. You know, we're working on stuff right now. We already got one in the bag. That'll be announced. I'm not sure when, but very cool fucking tour. Yeah, we got cool shit, man. We're just trying to play badass shows and hang out with everybody.
Just get back to New York ASAP.
We are for sure.
But thank you so much, everybody. I Am Eternal Steel. Be sure to pick that up when it comes out. We will see you next time on Heavy New York.
Goddamn right.